All right. Today is chapters 11, 12, 13. I will tell you that it's chapter 13 in the book. I never called it chapter 13, but chapter 13 is probability. Okay? That's when we had our own packet. We did that right before we did the state assessment so we could hit some probability things. And so if you're looking for chapter 13, nowhere in your book does it say chapter 13. We called it, that was our probability unit. Okay, once again, chapter 11 and 12 were the two most recent chapters. Chapter 11 was the circle chapter, where we did a bunch of different things with like area, circumference, things like that. We also had if you look at some of the different things on here, you got circumference, you got arc length, you got the area of a circle. Be careful with what they give you. Area of a circle. They give me the diameter. So we have to find the radius. Remember, the radius is always half the diameter. So just little things like that are commonly missed. When doing that, we get in a big hurry. Area of a sector. All of those formulas are on your formula sheet. Go back, use those formulas to kind of help you with that. All of those were given to you. If you have any questions about what's what. The area of a kite. The kite and rhombus, we talked about both of those at the same time. The area there. D1 times D2. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, so know what that D stands for. Okay, the area of the regular polygon. All of these are fairly recent. That's on your formula sheet as well. 1/2 times the apothem times the perimeter. Most of the time they give me one of those two things or enough information to find it. I got to find the other one. So like for instance on number 6, what piece is given to me that I can use immediately? What do we call 3.3? Okay, the radius would be the 4 because it goes to the point here. Okay, when you go from the center to the vertex, 4 would be your radius. 3.3 would be our apothem. Okay, so we got to know the difference between those two things. This is my apothem. 4 is the radius. What you would need to do here is we got to find x. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put an x right here. Now, a couple of things you got to be careful of here. First of all, how would I find the value of x here? Yep, good old Pythagorean theorem again, right? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. We've seen that pretty much on every review, I think, that we've done. Maybe not the first day, but ever since we did Pythagorean theorem, we've used it a lot. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now you got to be careful here because that only gives me x. X is half of the side length. So whatever I get here, I got to double it to get the whole side length, and then I got to multiply it by the number of sides. Darcy?
A's version.
Okay, and here we have 5 sides. Okay, so once you get x, you double it to get the side, and then multiply it by 5 to get the perimeter. Then you'll multiply it by the apothem, and then divide by 2. Okay. Okay, chapter 12 was the one we did just last week, so that's really recent. It's all your 3 dimensionals: volume, surface area, prisms, pyramids, cones, cylinders, all the different types of 3-dimensional figures that we might see. All of those formulas are on your formula sheet as well, so you don't have to memorize those. You just have to know how to use them. Pay attention. This was missed a lot. If I was going to do a problem like number 9, you got to recognize that it's a pyramid. And I mention this because, like I said, it was missed a lot on the quiz last week. When it's a pyramid, You can't forget the 1/3. Okay? It's big B times H divided by 3, or times 1/3. A lot of people just did big B times H. If it's a prism or a cylinder, that would be true. But if it comes up to a point, like a cone or a pyramid, we got to divide it by 3. Okay? We've seen some of each one of those. All of those are fairly recent, so I don't think there's a whole lot there to kind of go through. Number 12 is asking you to find both. For a sphere, we found both the surface area and the volume. We have 2 different formulas there. Also make sure that 17 is the diameter, because the line goes all the way across the circle. So you got to divide that by 2 to get the radius. Okay, and then chapter 13, like I said earlier, that's our probability chapter. You can go back and look at some of these things, but a lot of these are just looking at the problem.
Yep, sorry.
You're good. Okay, so we're going to do all kinds of things like how many options do we have? Okay, how many different possibilities of a certain event? What I like to do on something like this is draw like a line, how many different events are happening. So first of all here, I'm going to flip a coin. How many different ways, possibilities do I get if I flip a coin? You get 2, right? Heads or tails. So 2, okay? And you could do this for probability problems as well, but this one is just the number of outcomes. So the first outcome, I have 2 possibilities. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a marble at random from a bag containing 4 marbles. Find the number of possible outcomes in your sample space. Well, if I'm going to reach in and pick a marble out, let's say they're all different colors, I have 4 different possibilities. So it's just 2 times 4. We always multiply those outcomes together, and that gives me the total number of possibilities. So that would be 8 outcomes. Okay, you got a lot of different probability. I know probability is probably, a lot of people told me it's not their favorite chapter, but we've got a lot of different things on here that we're doing. 16 and 17 are your P and C problems. Remember, if we're going to use P, the NPR button, the permutation button, then we're looking at placement, position. We have to put things in a specific order. So order matters when we do permutation. If I'm going to do, so I like to use P words there, place or position. If I'm going to do NCR, then we're just going to randomly choose 3 things, okay? I'm going to randomly choose 3 people to come up here and work a problem out. I don't care who does in what order. I'm just going to say, you 3 come up here and work a problem out, okay? So does order matter or not? So if you have like a race and you got certain like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place, then order matters. One gets the 1st place, one gets the 2nd place, one gets the 3rd place. But if order does not matter, then we use C. Make sure you know where those buttons are at on your calculator. It's been a while since we've used those buttons as well. Okay, be careful with, this tells me how many total students there are. We could add it up, but because they tell me that, we know there's 481 total students. You could add it up across each way and then add those down, you get that. Or I could add down all 4 columns and then add across. Both of those should add up to be 481. Okay, well, let's look at part B here. Find the probability a randomly selected student with blood type O is male. Okay, so the way that I would write this out This is one of those conditional probabilities, okay? We're only looking at the people that are blood type O. That's our big group. Rather than using all 481 people, we're only using the people that have blood type O. This is the way that we typically have saw it written. They may not use this terminology. They may put it into words, okay? But this is how you could put it into the probability terminology like we're used to. So what we would have to do is we'd have to add up the number of people that have blood type O, and out of that group, how many of them were male, which would be 79. Okay. Because the test is going to be multiple choice, there's lots of different ways your answer could be written. It could be a fraction, make sure it's always reduced. It could be a decimal, or it could be a percent. Okay, we talked about all three of those as possibilities when we did probability. To get the decimal, we would divide the fraction. To get the percent, we'd have to move the decimal over 2 places and get a percent. All right, I'm gonna let you guys work.